All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to talk about accountability. Holding yourself accountable. Now, it doesn't matter what business you're in. It could be real estate, it could be selling widgets, it could be, fitness or whatever. You've got to be able to hold yourself accountable. And this is something that is a topic that Misty and I talk about a lot because obviously, just my background of coaching jujitsu for many, many years, and of course, we help, have agents that are on board with us. And then, of course, just the real estate investing. You've got to hold yourself accountable. I want to kind of start there at the top. I want to share, some scary stats. And I think for those of you guys that listen and you have your license, or you're going to get your license, and you're not maybe not you're going to move your way to vesting. I just wanted to kind of share some scary facts. I call it the cold hard facts. So I don't know if you know this, but according to the National Realtors Association or National Association of Realtors (NAR), the average realtor earns it's $53,000 and $330. 53 grand. The average realtor earns 53 grand. There are 106,000 brokerages in operation. Okay. And then of course, agents, realtors with 16 years of experience or more only have a gross median income of 85,000, and that's up from 75,000 in 2020. But 2020 was a wild year. And then of course, realtors with only 2 years of experience or less, they have a median income of 8,800 bucks.
Oh.
8,800, and this is according to NAR. $8,800, and it increases. That's an increase of $8,500 from 2020. The largest, okay, here you go. And they all tie together, but the largest expense category for most realtors was, take a guess, Misty. What would it be?
Training?
No, it's their fucking car. Guess how much it is?
More than they earned?
Yeah, take a guess. Just throw a number out.
Um, 6,000.
No, 1,400 bucks. And then I didn't make this up. This is NAR, 1,400 bucks, right? So I bring those up because I'm gonna have to I need to pull some investor stats, but this is just as an agent. This is those are like I said, if you're gonna be if you get your license and you're going into real estate, that is some scary shit. I know that it took me once we got to a certain point, it was like 12 months to get to six figures. Imagine spending 16 years in a business and your average income is 85 grand. That shit should have been done a long time ago. If the average realtor earns 53,000 bucks, right? So what happens? They get in the business and they think, I'm going to make a shit ton of money. And they realize the business is hard. Okay. And it's not easy and it's not hard. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's not hard. It's just, you just got to be there, right? Well, the same thing with real estate investing. You can take that same thing on a real estate investor. You can say, look, uh, they can say, oh, well, I only make X amount. You can either be a stat where like this and be one of the $53,000 is what you make, or you can take accountability for yourself and not make 53 grand, right? Wouldn't that be the difference?
Mhm.
A lot of it's going to be accountability. It's a lot of people who, and so the reason why Misty and we brought this up today, and we're talking about it now is because this is something that you and I talk about a lot. So as far as accountability things, what's some of the stuff, Misty, that you see, that people struggle with to be accountable that they don't do, whether it's working with the agents or just different individuals what's some of the stuff that you see?
Well, for agents, they're used to holding down a job and not actually running their own business, so they don't know how to plan their day. Um, you know, they get easily distracted and don't get a lot of actual work done. They get
Yeah.
distracted by being home or being uh, basically in charge of their day.
Well, that kind of throws a different spin too, right? Because the world's changed.
Mhm.
So it's not, hey, go in an office, you're
Yeah.
sitting there for 8 hours, but you've got what? You've got tons of distractions.
Yeah,
And
and you
so
can actually be more productive by not going into an office because you don't have to, get ready and drive 30 minutes plus, get stuck in traffic, and then sit there, get everything situated, and then pack up and go home for the day and spend it,
yeah.
spend so much time on the road traveling back and forth, and then got to stop for lunch, go somewhere to grab something to eat, and Yeah, so you can actually be a lot more productive by not going into an office, but if you're not disciplined
There.
and you don't have that day scheduled and set up and, work with that, then you can be very unproductive.
So we did have someone who was with the brokerage, and again, this doesn't apply to just being an agent. This applies to being a real estate investor. It applies to anything you're doing. You've got to have that discipline. Discipline and accountability go hand in hand, right? Because
Mhm.
accountability is just saying, "Hey, look, I'm going to make sure I'm going to keep myself on task." Which, at the end of the day, it's discipline. I mean, it's really what it is. But you mentioned that when we had a conversation with someone who was leaving the brokerage, and they were they're working from home, obviously, because our brokerage is virtual. We don't have an office. Misty and I've been working from home forever, but they their reason for leaving was, well, I want to go into an office. But then Misty hit them on the head
Well, yeah, because they
with,
they originally didn't want to go into an office, and then they have a small child and wanted to spend more time with that child
mhm,
and not have to go somewhere 9 to 5 or whatever. So kind of create their own schedule, and so that was one of the pluses is being virtual. They didn't have to go into an office, but then after, I mean, didn't give it much time at all, but after a couple of weeks realized it wasn't working for her. She wasn't getting much done. And so we're asking you know, why you're not getting much done. And well, I feel guilty
yeah.
about being home with my daughter, but not spending every single minute with her.
Would you feel guilty being at home, not being at home with your daughter, and not spending every single minute with her? There's no difference. But you said something to him that you asked one question and they admitted it, and I'll never forget it because we were just going back and forth. Of course, I'm going round and round, like trying to, hey, look, it's not, it's just, and then Missy just hit on the head. And what'd you ask him?
uh, so I don't remember exactly what I
I
asked
don't
him.
know
What was
the way you said it, that you were like, hey, so it's just a lack of discipline.
Yeah, I just was like, okay, so tell me why you're not getting, work done or you feel like you're not being productive. And, oh, well, I just feel guilty, not being able to do this, or I have appointments I got to go to for my daughter or something. And then I just get distracted by all this other stuff. And so I was like, well, it just sounds like that it's more of a discipline issue. You got to resolve that. It's not I have to be in an office in order to be productive.
Yeah.
It's just you got to create discipline, create a schedule, follow it. And so, what are you going to do with your daughter when you change brokerages and go to somewhere, that they require you to be in the office? What's going to happen with your daughter? Oh, well, I have to have somebody watch her or take her to a daycare or something. Why can't you do that now for 2 or 3 hour stints, and
Mhm.
plan your day,
'Cause people don't really work on.
knock out those few items that you really want to concentrate on for a 2 to 3 hour period or 4 hours or however long it's going to take. Have a family member watch her or go take her somewhere or something, knock that out. And then you still have another 4 or 5 hours to spend with your daughter.
Yeah, because they don't really they're not gonna work the full 8 hours anyways. I mean,
Correct.
most of them
You're
don't.
more productive when you don't.
Yeah, you actually are, right? You are. You're more productive when you execute, you have a list of things you need to knock out that are just
Your
important.
knockout list.
Knockout list. I've one of my mentors, he has a list of 3 things he does every day. He's like, "I just knock these 3 things out and I'm square." And that's it. And they're like at the top of the list. He's kinda gone through that with me. So, that's why, like you said, work in spurts,
Hmm.
right? That helps
Yep.
with the accountability. You're not trying to just, because otherwise you lose out and you get tired, and and you're not doing as good.
Yeah. If you
But
don't have that absolute list that you have to get done that day, then you get distracted by social media, phone calls.
oh, it's tons of
Yeah.
distractions. There's
Yeah.
nothing but
Tons of. Yep.
distractions. Yeah, YouTube. That's why you don't go on YouTube. But it is, man. It's accountability. You've got to be able to hold yourself accountable because one of the things we hear is I see one of the things that I see a lot is I feel like new agents do this. They blame it on the brokerage as if if it was the brokerage's fault, that they're not successful. But the reality is are they doing the necessary shit every day? Are they there? Are they present? Are they doing the training? Are they following the blueprint?
Are
Are
they
they
attending some meetings
it's
that
in,
are going on, or increasing their learning, training?
yeah, are they doing any of that? And a lot of times they're not. I see the same thing. And here's the thing. So when we went full time in real estate, obviously we were full time in jujitsu for many, many years, coaching. And someone asked me the other day. It was actually I think it was a tournament, and they said, "How's the brokerage going?" It was my coach, it was Bruno. He said, how's not tournament? How's the brokerage going?" And I was like, "Man, it's going great. This is what we're doing." And he said, "Honestly, Bruno, it's the same shit, just a different industry." It's like, and he's kind of like, we laughed, and he's like, I'm getting ready to fight here in a bit, and we laughed about it, and he's like, "Yeah, it's just really what it is." And I just had this thought that when you move away from jujitsu, because jujitsu is hard. I mean, you're beating your body up, you're getting your ass whooped every day. You're sore. I mean, like right now, if this recording, like I've got my eye, is look like somebody scraped it across and it's down like it's like I don't know what you call it. There's a character that has that. I've had black eyes. I mean, all sorts of stuff, man. Like
Scar
my
from the
ears,
Lion
dude,
King.
my ears are fucked up. Like, but jujitsu's hard. So I thought, okay, jujitsu, I get it. There's just some people, they just don't have it. They just don't have the mentality to do it. They're just
Hmm.
mentally weak. It's just what it's going to be because this shit's hard. So when we moved full time into real estate, I thought, no, man, because we were around investors and people who'd already been down that road. So it wasn't the same thing. But then we started getting around people who hadn't been down that road. And I realized it's the same damn shit. The only thing is they're not getting their ass whooped. I'm like, it's the same stuff. The individuals that don't want to hold themselves accountable. They don't want to. They don't want to go and say, you know what, it was my fault. I didn't do well because I didn't show up. I didn't
Hmm.
show up. I didn't pay attention. I didn't ask questions. I just quit. I just said, fuck it, I'm
Just
going
because you
straight to
took the
quit.
class and got your license doesn't mean that everything else falls into place.
Hell no. You're not going to make a lot. That's what most people think.
That's not the end of the road.
They think you're going to make a lot of money because they got their license, but we know that's not the case. You don't just get your license. Now, your license can be a license to print money if you do things right.
Hmm.
That's why I like to call it a license to print money, but it's not necessarily the case. Most people think they're going to get their license, they're going to do well, and then their accountability and their discipline is just shit. It's just
Yeah.
completely non-existent.
They're used to coming from jobs where
Being told,
they had a manager or a boss or somebody that gave them their plan for the day or what they needed to do
mhm,
in order to get their paycheck.
being told what to
And their
do.
paycheck was consistent and steady, and
Yep.
yep. And so they're not used to that freedom. And so at first it's like, yes, I
Yeah.
have freedom. I could do whatever I want. I can make my own schedule. I don't have to work today.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so I think they get kind of carried away with that. And then after a minute, they're like, wait, I didn't get paid. What?
I'm broke. I'm broke.
What's going on here?
Oh man, I'm broke, man. I don't know what to do now. Like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Do you remember when that happened for you? Like your switch? I remember that for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember, like, were you just, was I too busy telling you to do shit, or were you, or were you kind of like,
I still have a boss.
I can chill out. That's right. He's an asshole, right? Yeah. You sleep with him too. You're gonna get fired, Misty. Um, so did uh hope his wife doesn't find out. Did did you so like when you had that happen, I mean, when you made that switch, just kind of yours was more recent. Mine was a lot longer. I mean,
Mhm.
yours wasn't more recent. It was actually a long time ago, but mine was much longer and I'd already kind of worked my way in, whereas you just kind of made the switch. Was it?
It was an adjustment to realize, like, if you don't work, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
So that was an adjustment because,
Scary?
I'd come from somewhere that you have vacation time, you have sick days, you have,
Yeah, we don't get vacation time.
no,
I don't know what
and
that means.
so, but I mean, there's an excellent trade-off of, being able to work when you want or on whatever you want, and,
Mhm.
spend more time with the kids and everything. But definitely, in order to make sure that you can sustain yourself, you definitely need to stay on top of your task and kind of you have to manage yourself.
Yeah,
and
ultimately,
and a lot of adults unfortunately don't come from that background
mm,
and they're just waiting around for someone to tell them what to do.
and that's what tripped me out so much is, that's why we're talking about today, because I just assumed that grown ass people just took care of their shit. Like that's what I really did. I really assumed, like, I was like, okay, maybe this is just stuck for jujitsu because this shit's really hard. It's not. It is absolutely not. There are so many individuals
You
out
have to
there.
adult.
Yeah, there are so many individuals out there who just they want to be fed and just take care of it, and I don't have to think about it. It amazed me how beyond it went from jujitsu. It has amazed me
How
then.
many
So
people are actually order takers?
absolutely. Now I'm not saying there shouldn't be. We need people to take orders.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, and no complaints. But it's just
You
even
need
if
to realize that if this is the route you're going, that you have to change that, and the longer it takes to change that, the longer you're going to be broke.
right. And then yeah, exactly. No, and if you work somewhere, there's nothing wrong with I'm a big I'm a big believer that if you work somewhere and you love what you do, there's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to leave that or change that. I'm not by no means are we talking about changing your careers and quitting and it's the only way to be successful. But what we are talking about is even if you were in a job that you love, you still got to be accountable because you've got people relying on you. They need you to do some shit to handle your stuff so that you can make sure that that things happen. So if you're not doing those things, you end up affecting everybody else
Mhm.
essentially. And so, I think that's important. You have to. It just comes down to it's a. I love David Goggins says it. And I love it. It's disciple of discipline. You gotta be a disciple of discipline. Every day you wake up, it's just that's it. And you can't let people get into that sphere and get in that break. You've got like I imagine myself as like I've got this little like bubble around me, and I don't want a whole lot of stuff getting in the bubble. That's why Misty's like, you're either. She's like, oh man, he's hungry. He's a little pissed off or frustrated. It's not frustrated because I don't like people, or a lot of this because I'm trying to push myself to another level of discipline, and it's hard. It's just difficult. And so when others around you, if they're not doing those things, oh man, it sets me off because you're trying to put yourself here, and if they get there too, you're going to all be on all cylinders. And so you have to make sure that you're being accountable. You have to make sure that you take advantage of that. It's not the weather, it's not the market, it's not it's not your dog, it's not your cat, it's not your kids, it's no one else's fucking problem. It's you. It's essentially what you've done. You have to make it happen. We're in a high interest rate environment right now when we're recording this. That doesn't change anything. People are still buying. You know, uh, we went through
High compared to what we're used to
what
in
we're used
recent
to,
history.
right?
It's really not high overall. But
But the weather, you just got to deal with it. You still got to make it happen, right? If you're fixing some shit, fixing something, you got to. I mean, you got to work around it. Like it doesn't matter what it is. None of those things are an excuse to not make something happen. They have to essentially happen, no matter
Mhm.
what. And I think a lot of people, oh well, I can't do it because of this, or I can't do it because of that. But that doesn't work. You have to just get out there and just do it. And I think if more people held themselves to that, you know, and maybe I just come from a different background because jujitsu, like I said, it's just fucking difficult. It's hard. I mean, it's mentally, it's probably one of the most mentally taxing things I've ever had to do. So when I look at things like this, it's not that difficult.
You took the hard road first, and so everything else is easy to
Yeah. If you're listening
you.
to this, I encourage you to go find a free trial class, some jujitsu academy, and then see if they'll let you, actually like roll that day. Roll is wrestle, or one of their, you know, like yeah, I want to wrestle. I want to try it out. Do a live round. You'll walk out of there and be like, man, I thought my job was hard. This shit's hard. I'm out. Like, you know, I see a lot of adults just falter mentally. So, maybe I just come from a different background because of that. That to me, I mean, doing things, even just being in front of people, talking with, like, it's not that hard compared to just what it is jiu-jitsu. So maybe I'm just backwards,
So parents, get your kids in jujitsu now
right?
so that they have a leg up when they become an adult.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. None of that softness. So, but no, anyhow, but yeah, it's accountability. You got to have it. It's not your brokerage. It's not the market. It's nothing. It's nothing other than you. And I told this to one of the agents actually the other day. I said, there's something I live by, and there's a book called Good to Great. And I read that a long time ago when I was very early on. One of my mentors, Randy, turned me on to that. He's like, "Hey, you check this book out." And in the book, they go through different companies that have like become these phenomenal companies. And he did case studies. And one of the things that they all had in common is that when things go right, it was luck. When things go wrong, it was their own fault. I think if you live by that, when things go right, it was just luck. You did everything you're supposed to do, and it was luck. And when things go wrong, you're like, man, it's my fault. You just point the finger back at you and figure it out. And quite frankly, some of it may not be your fault. Some of it might actually be it was just bad timing. It was, maybe it was the weather and you just out of your control, but if it was whatever was out of your control, you at least can recognize that and say, okay, I did everything I was supposed to do and some things were just out of my control. And that's just what it was. But if you do it the other way around, where you're like, yeah, I'm the reason why it happened. And then whenever it doesn't work, you're like, oh, it's just bad luck.
Blaming.
Yeah, it's just bad luck. They blame. And that's why I think for me, when I see things like the different, with agents and stuff where they blame it on this, they blame it on that. Does it help to have the right mentor? Absolutely. They can time collapse all sorts of stuff if you have a good mentor.
Hmm.
They can help time collapse. And that's whether that mentor is someone you pay or you don't pay. They can help time collapse. But ultimately, it's not your mentor's fault. If you don't do it and you don't go perform, it's not their fault.
And ask questions.
Yeah, and ask questions. It's you. Yeah, ask questions.
And like you always say, it's the mentee's job to go to the mentor.
It is the mentee's job to go to the mentor. I see it all the time. Oh, well, they didn't help me or this or that. No, you didn't show up at the doorstep. You had to say, hey, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I need help. And if they don't have that, it doesn't matter. So, guys, hold yourself accountable. Don't let anybody else tell you any different. You need to hold yourself accountable. Become a disciple of discipline. Stick to that.
Yeah, the mentor
Instead.
has a wealth of knowledge, and the mentee is trying to get some of that knowledge. But the mentor could give it to the mentee, but the mentee might not be ready. And so it's just a waste of the mentor's time to do that. Therefore, that's why it's the reason for the mentee to go to the mentor when they're ready, when they've reached that timing to ask this certain question to get that information. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time.
When they have the epiphany,
Mm-hmm.
oh shit, I need to learn this. Man, that's well said, Misty. Absolutely right. Yeah, when you have the epiphany, that's when you show up.
Yep.
And until then, it doesn't matter what they dump on you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It's just over your head
we have
until you're ready.
It is. It is all the time. That's jujitsu. That's business. That's real estate investing. That's we learn stuff all the time here on the podcast. We learn stuff from
Mm-hmm.
guests. Like, oh man, like last time we recorded, I was like, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Someone said something after we got done and we were talking, and they're like, I didn't realize it. Okay, huh? I went and looked it up, and I was like, oh, man, I'm gonna find out about that a little bit. Whether we use it or not, but it's just we learned something. But
Yep.
I wasn't ready for that. Had that situation that we talked about not come
Mm-hmm.
up, I wouldn't have needed that. So but the situation came up, we talked about it, boom, and then we learned something. So you're right. When the teacher appears, or when the student is ready, the teacher will. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and then when the student is, once they are ready, and they've learned it, the teacher disappears. That's it.
Yep.
They appear. Okay, what do you need to know? Okay, you know it, and they disappear. Boom.
Yep.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yep.
And I think most people don't do that, and they need to do that. I think that'll help a lot. So if you're soft mentally, change it. Take that. You need to cut that out. Be accountable for yourself. Hold yourself to the fire. No one else is going to do it. And be as disciplined as possible. And discipline, in a very short way of putting it, is doing the shit you don't want to do. You do it anyways. That's it. I don't like washing dishes. I don't want to make my bed. I don't want to do all that stuff. But your day starts with that. Your day should start with those items of, washing dishes, making your bed, taking care of all those items. If you don't do that stuff, you're just starting off behind. This is what it is. You start off behind. You have to start off ahead. And so those things are important. Does that mean you might get up earlier? Yeah, of course. But you feel better. You're ready. You're ahead of the game. I mean, it's just little shit like that makes a huge difference. If you want to make more money, that stuff makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we're talking about it, because this is mindset. This is not just Let's just how do we make more? Because if your mind is if your mindset, if you're not being accountable, I don't give a shit what you do as a real estate investor. I don't care what you do as a real estate agent. I don't care what you do in any business. That stuff's not squared away, you won't make anything. So, but anyhow, guys, keep it together. Hold yourself accountable. Be disciplined. Do things you don't want to do, and do it anyways. Knock it out, and we'll catch you guys next time.